Welcome back to the channel. This is my S26 Ultra and I just installed the One UI 9.0 Beta 4. This is the latest beta available for the S26 platform. That's the Ultra version. Android version 17, the version is ZZG4 and the security patch level is from the 5th of July. This thing here is my S25 Ultra and I just installed the very latest update. The version here is CZG3, and then again the security patch level is from the 5th of July. Now it's very important to understand what the bug fixes are, if there are any new changes, any new features. Of course I would like to share them with you. And before we start, let me tell you something, because I know people are gonna ask. Yes, I'm using the Lunar and the Wallrod wallpaper apps. Then again, this is not sponsored. They're created by Matthias Eckhart. Cost something like €2. Lunar and Wallrod. Just go and download them. It's just so beautiful. No AI slop. Everything crafted by Matthias. As I said, the One UI 9 Beta 4 is ZZG4. Bugs have been fixed, improved an issue where the clock size appears abnormal when rotating the lock screen horizontally and vertically. Improved an issue where it does not operate normally when turning on and off via quick panel or settings while the privacy display routine is running. We can test it as well. Improved an issue where the navigation bar disappears under certain conditions during games. Improved user interface performance issues that occur when opening and closing quick panel. And I do believe that's important because some of you under the comments of my videos were saying that they had this issue with the quick panel being a bit laggy, a bit stuttery. But hey, it's still Samsung One UI, still one of the best operating systems for stock customizations, and yes, sometimes still stuttery and jittery, so a lot of issues with consistency, but let's hope that it's gonna get better and better. They also fixed an issue where time notification numbers are cut off or the UI is unstable in line notifications, and they also improved an issue where the Bluetooth audio media volume routine action doesn't operate normally when connecting to vehicle Bluetooth via the routines app. Then again, we can click here and try to learn more information. It's important to see if Samsung updated this thing here. Yeah, they did not, because this is only showing the stable information from Android 16, One UI 8.5. So then again, it's a bit lame. Now let's check what happens on the S25 Ultra. Security, of course, we got the new patches, and by the way, you can check those on the Samsung or Google security bulletins. The device is now protected with the latest security. There isn't really much more here. And by the way, this is interesting because when you get here, yeah, this is the information from the changelog. So as we can see, this is probably only a security update. The size here is almost 600 megabytes versus the double size for the One UI 9.0. And something that I'd like to do every time when I do this update. So scroll inside the settings, go over to security and privacy. Once you're here, just scroll to the updates, and that's important because yes, we know that the security update is the most current one, but what about the Google Play System update? It's from June, and I'm gonna do a double check. Yeah, all right, so you see, this is something that doesn't really come over the air, and sadly we need to do this manually, hence I'm showing this on screen how that's done. So every time you do an update, you might get the latest security patches, but if you want to get the latest Google Play System updates, the only way to do this right now is via the settings and the privacy and security by clicking on the updates app and by just checking this manually. Let's wait for the restart. I'm gonna do another check because yes, sometimes you might have multiple updates, and then we're going to continue our testing. Phones are restarted, so I would like to initiate another check. I'm just gonna go back inside my settings. I'm gonna scroll down to security and privacy, and I'm gonna hit the updates. So let's hope there are no more updates. The Google Play System update is now from the 1st of July on my S26 Ultra and also on my S25 Ultra. And yes, there are no more updates. Now, before we do our testing, I would like to check some of the versioning. So the first thing I'm gonna start, of course, is with the home screen. So we click here about home screen. The version that I have with One UI 9 Beta 4 is 18.0075, 17.50530. All right, so this is how it goes. There are not a lot of new things here, but you know how it goes. The moment I click on more customizations, yes, Samsung finally released an update for the Home app that allows you to create funny things. such as a dock that you can see here, and also use 2 to 5 fingers for gesture. So this dock option is not available here. And by the way, if you would like to check what you can do with the home app, you can check my dedicated video. All right, what about the gallery? I'm just gonna go inside the gallery. I'm gonna click the menu, I'm gonna click settings, and I'll just scroll down. On the One UI 9 Beta 4, I have 15.90045 versus 15.80091. By the way, before starting the video, I made sure to go inside my Galaxy store here on the menu and try to update everything. I got tons of updates, so this is why I assume that I have the latest and greatest applications. But what I would like to do is now start my testing. And the first thing I always do is, let's try to see this animation. All right, One UI 9 here versus One UI 8.5. As you can see, I try to time it in the very same moment. I have a feeling that One UI 9 could be a tiny bit quicker. And you know, there is no setting on animation speed, not a default setting. You might want to play with this via developers options, but I'm using stock settings. Okay, now let's try to open a widget. All right, scrolling down, pretty much the same. Now let's open my Now brief. Have a good day. I have the weather integrated here with some of my Samsung health information and of course some Spotify information. Not that bad. And now I'd like to check the quick panel. So quick panel here, quick panel here. One of the first bug fixes in One UI 9 Beta 4 is the speed when opening and closing the quick panel. By the way, quite fast also on the One UI 8.5. Now let's try the auto rotate function. All right, not bad on the One UI 9. Why do this? Because I want to set this animation. All right, as you can see, it's pretty flawless here on the One UI 9. All right, and what about my quick panel? If I do it like that, all right, not bad. Now I'm gonna do the same test here on my S25 Ultra with the latest One UI 8.5. So I'm just gonna take it in my hand. All right, rotation is okay. What about this? Oh my God, yeah, still not as good as on the One UI 9 for a reason. You can see definitely stutters compared to the One UI 9 Beta 4 on the S26 Ultra, but okay, it's probably not a big drama anyway. What about quick panel? Okay, I think like a slight delay when reaching out for the quick panel, which is rather interesting. All right, now let's try to test some more widgets, as I have here a Spotify widget. So just open Spotify widget. All right, like that. All right, one more time. Change the song. All right, like this.
My head.
All right, yep, goes like that. I have it here. All right, if we try to play the music, let's try to play the music, because I'm not sure if you are all aware, but there is definitely an update in the media player. Now we have this new sound wave depicted like that. I think it's just really, really cool. And by the way, yes, this is also represented on the lock screen. So if I just show you right now, lock screen, I can see the wave, right? Not here, by the way. And if I click here, you know, we have this beautiful sound wave animation again. Very static here. Some people prefer that outlook, some people prefer this. I really like this because it's somehow like declutters everything and all the screen becomes like a big media player. But again, those are just some tiny small details. All right, let's try to unlock the phone and see what happens. So this is now lock screen. All right, and if I double tap, it's going to be always on. All right, the unlock here quite quick. The unlock here as well. One more time. Do it like that. All right, as you can see, it's a pretty similar behavior. Of course, unlocking on the S26 Ultra seems to be a tiny bit quicker. Now, what about apps opening and apps closing, guys? All right, as you can see, I'm just doing it together with you. It is very similar. All the animations, the way everything bounces back and forth with the zoom in and out, provided that you didn't really fiddle and messed around with the home app, is going to give you a very similar experience. And you can see this from here, and I'm going to try to open the same apps. All right, okay, now this is recent applications. Close everything one more time, opening the store. Even quicker on the S25 Ultra. That's the gallery, this is the Play Store. As you can see, it works exactly in the same way. All right, one more test here. By the way, for a reason, this animation seems to be a tiny bit quicker on the S26 Ultra. 1, 2, 3. All right, you see. Let's do this one more time. 1, 2, 3. All right, one more time. 1, 2, 3. Okay, not sure what is going on, but it feels a bit more responsive. It's probably like a setting that Samsung are trying to fine tune for the One UI 9. And as we're here, guys, I would like to run a Geekbench to see the scores that I'm gonna get on both phones. Remember, One UI 9 Beta 4 with the Android 17 and One UI 8.5 latest with the Android 16. So let's see the scores I'm gonna get on the S26 Ultra versus my S25 Ultra. My S26 Ultra scored 3,475 on the single core score versus almost 3,000 here on my S25 Ultra and 10,000 on the multi-core score versus 9,100. So I would say it's not that different. Now that we're here, let's try to open the camera and see what happens. All right, S26 Ultra, S25 Ultra. Something that was brought to my attention is that not all the settings yet have been equalized. You know, one of the major things with the S26 Ultra is the inclusion of a 24 megapixel default mode. Now clearly you can use this via the camera assistant. You can go there and you can add a 24 megapixel in the photo mode, which is pretty cool, and it seems that this option doesn't really exist here for the S25 Ultra, which might be a bit of a bummer, because now I can go inside of photos and I would have like a 24 megapixel, which is somewhere like the sweet spot for quality versus processing, stuff like this. But if we go inside the camera assistant, there seems to be also other things that are not on par. So I have something here that is called additional modes, and I can get like single take and dual recording, which at some point disappeared from the One UI 8.5. But I have also additional modes like night in my One UI 9 Beta 4 on my S26 Ultra, which I don't have here. All right, and if we go to the presets, this is going to be pretty much the same thing. You pretty much have the same settings. Also, some people were debating the fact that you get more controls with the One UI 9.0. I don't really have that right now, at least with this version of the camera system. This might be a new version, a new APK that I don't yet have, and most probably gonna end up with having more options for the shutter speed, or let's say also for the ISO. But right now, as you can see, that is equalized. Something that's interesting, the moment I go inside the settings, I get this type of notifications here, but my One UI is telling me sort and field notifications to make it easy to find important notifications, and I can check it out. This thing is gonna go inside the notification settings and show me the sort and filtering options, and I can sort by time, priority, you know, background activities, you know, minimize notifications, all of that. But my One UI 8.5 is gonna tell me protect your battery and extend its lifespan by limiting charging while you're asleep. So you get this system tips, and the moment you go inside the menu, you know, you're gonna get a hover on a setting, which I think is pretty cool. But overall, the experience is very, very similar. One thing I would like to check is what about the Galaxy AI and also the layout, because you can see in One UI now, no, Samsung are trying to simplify the settings. So they removed a lot of these like subheaders from the menu here and converted it into something like this that is pretty readable, and it's absolutely better than this. Now again, you most probably have a lot of the similar features minus some. For example, the audio eraser now is also included here. Even if you go inside, you're gonna see there's gonna be a change in the description. Again, these very small tweaks, I do believe that Samsung are undertaking them to make things more readable. So call screening, you can see the text is a bit different here. And if we go into writing assist, you can see some of the sections are gonna be pretty similar, but most of the sections are actually going to be changed and adapted, you know, like show less text or make this menu that is just more readable. So let's just try to check some more. Okay, this is the note assist. All right, let's try to check photo assist, because photo assist, we have some new things here in One UI 9.0. We have the AI erase and move, same here. You have create and style, and now we can see this is also available in One UI 8.5. So I'm just thinking Samsung are really playing a catch up, and hopefully One UI 9.0 for S25 Ultra will have all this nice new settings. All right, what about the now notch? Because remember when Samsung released S26 series, the now notch was something new. Now notch is still not present here. All right, so it's not available on the One UI 8.5, the latest build that I have here. With the now notch, you can apparently get things done quickly. All right, it's going to suggest you some actions based on what you're doing on the screen. Honestly, I am using this phone since the moment it was out on the market. I probably just like got one or two notification out of it, all information you need and stuff like this. Right now at the moment, this is not being so helpful, but you get the point. And honestly, this is the One UI 9.0 Beta 4 versus the One UI 8.5. It's pretty stable on both of the phones. This is a beta, but my Google Wallet works. I can do all the payments. I guess it has all the certifications, and I'm anyway daily driving this phone. The S25 Ultra with the 1 year 8.5 still being a very good contender. I got a lot of people asking me, hey, should I trade off my S25 Ultra for S26 Ultra? And my honest opinion is not really. If you do have the S25 Ultra or probably even the S24 Ultra, and why not the king, the S23 Ultra with a 10x optical zoom, they're still good phones. So don't really spend your money on new phones unless you're obsessed with technology like me and or have a YouTube channel to show new stuff. So honestly, S25 Ultra, 24 Ultra and S23 Ultra are still good to go, and the S25 Ultra I do believe is gonna be good for at least another few years. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys. Stay safe, peace to you over, and bye.